All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the April 1st, April Fool's Day edition of the Farmington School Board meeting. Welcome to those of you who have joined us here tonight and those of you joining us from home. At this time, I would ask that we all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any public participation at this time? Hearing none, we'll jump into reports. Originally, I had told Mr. Doig that reports could maybe just be submitted and not presented. I wasn't sure with all the non-publics that we had on our agenda if we would have time. But if you're prepared to give your report, we will do that. So we'll start with Student Services. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine. Good evening, everyone.
Hello. Hello.
So in your board folder, you will find my reports, beginning with statistics. And I'll just pause to see if there are any questions about that before I move on. Oh, thank you. So then moving on, currently, our major concern is around staffing and the staffing levels, specifically around special education teachers. And I just want to draw to the board's attention the risks that, that the district is under, given the staffing levels right now. So risks of complaints or hopefully not, but litigation. You have another document in the board folder that outlines my concerns, the current services levels and case management levels, which I would just pause and see if you had any questions or.
Is that on the link for current concerns?
Yes.
I can't open it.
It's separate.
There should be a separate document.
Oh,
Yep. Special
I
Education
got it.
Services and
Sorry.
Case Management
Yep.
Update.
Mhm. All right, so I'll move on. And we've talked about the concerns about the costs to become a paraeducator and that being a barrier to bringing on new paraeducators. That continues to be on my concern list. But then I wanted to give you a little good news that we had the New Hampshire Registered Education Apprenticeship Program here. You have a PowerPoint slide in your folder to review, just to bring you up to date about what that is. But Mary Ford came, and we did have a number of people come that were interested in pursuing that and potentially becoming a special education teacher. So, so that's, a little bit on the good news. On my report, I think, there's a number of things here. I would just draw your attention to compliance is still good. I would imagine that given where we are with staffing, that that might suffer some. We're going to do our best, but just to draw that to your attention. The data determination for the district should be coming out any day. That's the one that has the 4 areas, and then they say, what level you are at, and that translates into the general supervision that will happen next year, and you have a handout explaining that. And then as far as school psychology services for next year, since we all know that we need to do something with a school psychologist, I am going to, my thought was to cover that in the IDEA grant that I write in July. That will begin October 1st and go for 2 years. And then that might be a way to cover the cost. And so Mackenzie and I are working on an RFP for that.
Any questions? I have a couple of people. So, Colleen, in regards to this cost barrier to get certified for paras, when is that barrier presenting itself? are we going through the interview process, getting ready to offer somebody a job, and then they're saying, oh, wait a minute, and then they put the brakes on? I'm just curious, or are we assuming that we're not getting people because they might know about it?
Well, it's interesting because the barrier came into existence in January is when
Right.
some extra costs were added in. So there was a little bit of what's going on here, let's figure this out. So now what I do is to give people the information ahead of time. So as I'm reaching out to them for an interview, I'm sending them the information about all this. And then during an interview, I'm making sure that they understand what they need to do in order to attain their credential.
Okay,
And they still have 30, is it 30 days to get that pair to, if we hired them? will
30
that-
Yeah, 30 days, 20 days, but it's quick.
It's short.
It's
yeah.
quick.
have we advertised any positions on social media like we did with the custodial positions?
Yes, we did advertise for paraeducators in the fall, specifically for Valley View, and I do think that brought a few to us. I'm going to be working with Pritika, my administrative assistant, to make a flyer that weaves in the REAP piece for an advertisement, because that might be exciting to people, come work and we'll support you in becoming a certified teacher and lead you in the right direction. So I've got my fingers crossed for that. But do you have other thoughts?
The reason I brought it up was because I know that Larry had a little bit of influx of applicants after the custodial recently went on, so maybe every once in a while we shoot it on there. The other piece is partnering with New Hampshire Unemployment. New Hampshire Unemployment people that are collecting unemployment have to do a certain amount of workshops and job fairs and things like that to satisfy their job search needs. I'm just wondering if we can get some flyers down to the unemployment office in Somersworth. We could potentially ask somebody, see if we could put on a workshop down there of what the role of a paraeducator is, so people may not know. It might appeal to somebody, I don't know. I'm just thinking
you.
of other avenues to
Yeah.
get the word out.
Yeah,
Yep.
those are great ideas.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Colleen or comments? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the numbers of the special education students, including referrals district-wide, and that number seems, as a former special educator, really high to me. So I guess and I'm not looking for feedback or an answer right now, but just maybe a more streamlined referral process, and before maybe we're getting to referrals, because I know those have been concerns from case managers coming to us as well, at the board level. So just maybe having a more streamlined, in-depth process of what that looks like. And I know, you just came on and a lot of fires to put out, but maybe just moving forward, especially for next year, what that could look like. It seems like Henry Wilson has something that's,
Yes.
we've been told, that's a great model and it's
Yep.
working and they're meeting
Yep.
in advance when it's a teacher referral or school referral. Parent
Yes.
referral, obviously, it's different. But maybe just kind of having something a little more streamlined, right? That way, and especially if case managers have to move from different grade levels or different schools, that transition is more seamless and they know
Yeah.
what the expectation is district-wide.
Yeah.
So, it's just kind of my only little, light bulb moment.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'd just like to add to Nicole's fine list of points that I don't think we do enough with regards to identifying executive functioning issues. And I'd like to work to develop something to kind of help along with that process as well. Because I think it's under-identified and it manifests itself in a variety of ways, especially behavioral. So if we can identify these things early on and work with students to help develop those skills, we might see a decrease in some of the numbers that we're seeing.
We had Peg Dawson come in last year. Did she speak to the entire district? Who did she speak to?
She spoke, we had her at a parent, like an evening
Okay.
meeting. So for those that came, we also purchased books.
Right.
Folks that came, and we also distributed some to staff.
I actually gave you my book. Did I ever get that back? Jim's done a lot of work with executive functioning in other roles, and so I found that book to be rather interesting, and I'm wondering
Be
if
an
we could get
interesting
Peg back
PD.
for professional development.
I did, inquire to Peg if she was available past November.
Hmm.
Valley View ultimately had Dr. Nill do 2 different workshops.
Right,
And so that kind of took up those 2 slots where we were looking to maybe have Dr. Dawson come.
Hmm.
But going forward, I know she said that she'd be happy to work with us again.
just a thought.
If I may.
Yes,
I just know that some of the feedback too, especially at, well, I mean, district-wide, but at Valley View, just to go along with that, like more family informational nights around how to support those challenging behaviors, how to work together with the school, you know, because not everyone has educational and social emotional background, you know, that we're all trained in. So the teachers were really excited to possibly start getting those back into this way, you know, getting those back on the schedule. I know we kind of took a hiatus during COVID and those things, so just that way we can better support our students with behaviors and the parents.
and I think we talked that Christina Smalley may be able to help us in that avenue as well, Jim?
Yes,
That'd be
she's
great.
visiting staff meetings this week.
Yes.
We just received
Great.
the survey in final form today.
Okay, thank you.
At all grade levels?
Yes.
sorry.
All
Yes.
grade levels?
Yes, she will be at the high school tomorrow and at 3, and then swing up to Valley View,
Yeah,
and then
Beautiful.
Wednesday on Henry Wilson, so we'll figure that piece out.
Okay.
Yep.
The
Great.
face is because of the weather.
All good things that were brought up at office hours, so
Yeah.
glad that things are following. Good. Thank you.
all right, Kathleen, curriculum.
Thank you, Colleen.
So in my board report, a couple of things that I've highlighted. One is the climate and culture surveys did go out in all 3 buildings. Principals were given full access to the survey and to the responses. I shared that information with the principals in conversations very briefly, but the survey had just closed, so they and I also need time to take a look at that and have a conversation. But I would anticipate that the principals will bring some message from that to their board report at the end of the month. At the high school, as you know, I've been working to track data from the after-school department hours, and I provided for you some information. Just a summary, although the high school has the details of all the different, in these different categories. And again, that will be for them to analyze it, interpret it, and look for an action plan. But one thing we did notice with the week spanning from February 12th to the 29th, with 40 students in attendance, is that it's not sufficient for us wanting to assist students. So looking again into the real time during the day as an opportunity that we need to tap and maybe support that better. On a plus side, though, we found that most students stayed after school to get caught up, not necessarily for extra help. So again, that might be a more focus for the real time during the school day, is working on getting caught up, not necessarily needing additional support. I've started to attend a workshop series from New Hampshire Learning Initiative on competency-based education, really with the focus on the fact that we're going to be looking at our grading structure across the district. So connected with Rick Warmelli's conference that we had gone to, and looking at this too, and knowing that the Ed 306s are being rewritten, and looking to see how competencies come into play there, this was inappropriate for me to begin to delve into this with NHLI. And then finally, 3 other main points are our frontline professional learning management system. We've had our first onboarding meeting. I've been helping substantially with the SAT test day that's going to be happening for our juniors. We decided to separate out the freshmen and sophomores and do that on a different day. And I have been working on the plane building project in helping to secure some support for a competitive grant for over $999,000 for Farmington School District through U.S. Senator Jeannie Shaheen's office. We also began to work on initial roles for that plane building project.
Only her close friends call her Jeannie.
Well, I apologize, I'm a little under the weather.
Okay. No, I just wasn't sure. I mean,
My voice is a little off, and I've had so much
thought
cold
maybe
and
you
cough
really knew her.
medicine in me that I'm a little off.
that's getting a lot
So-
of good press, though, the plane
It is.
project.
Yeah,
lately.
it's great.
Yeah,
It's
I
been on
did,
Channel 9 and Union Leader.
I did
and-
put in a copy of the Union Leader, that was in that, about 2 weeks ago, and then another press release that was put out in Lebanon.
Hmm.
So our name is getting out there among the state. Should the weather be good, and SATs are already taken care of, I am planning to go to the Made in New Hampshire Expo on Friday to show Farmington's support for the plane project. The plane that Manchester had built will be showcased there. Manchester students will be there with Lebanon students, so I wanted to represent Farmington. If Friday doesn't work due to testing and so forth, then I plan to go on Saturday.
Questions for Kathleen? I have one. The survey, the climate and culture survey, what was the structure of that? Is it a rating scale? Is it a, here's a statement and you circle definitely agree, somewhat agree, like, was there narrative pieces?
It's a Likert scale.
Okay,
So this is the same survey that 3 years ago we first did at the high school. So last year, we repeated that, and it was a request to have all the buildings do a survey. So we used that same survey at the high school again to look at comparisons, and we did it at Valley View. Henry Wilson had developed their own survey, so they used that last year. This year, because of the timing and so much needs to be done, we redid that same survey for the high school to look at a 3-year trend. Valley View, this will be their second year, so we'd be able to see a comparison. For Henry Wilson, this is their first year with this particular survey. The surveys was taken from the New Jersey Department of Education. It was designed to be a Likert-type scale without collecting comments because it was a State Department survey. So knowing, for example, that the school board has done open houses, that principals always welcome opportunities to speak with individuals, teachers, staff, and also at faculty meetings, we kept to that same protocol because there were many questions in it. We recognize, though, going forward, what we'd want to do is build a strength-based survey where the statements are coming from a place of strength, and then you're still determining your level of agreement, disagreement. Many staff had wanted to add in comments. The experience with that is unless it's set up very well, you might get a very large comment that is difficult to code and tease out into themes as to where that represents. So we kept with the same survey as the previous 2 years that did not have that, but we knew that the school board and principals invite comments from their staff, and that would serve for this case. If there's a decision to move forward next year with comments, we know that you write them very in a narrow band, so the response kind of stays within that theme and doesn't open up to lots of different comments that are in one area, and it's hard to tease it out.
okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you. Financials.
We're discussing the month of March right now. I was able to close the month for our Fund 10 and fully reconcile that, so the reconciliation is available for you. I'm gonna just thumbs up myself for that achievement because I beat the secretaries this month. Wouldn't lose 2 months in a row. But we'll just get right into the reports. So for total revenue for the month of March, we accumulated $735,048.88 and expended $1,074,608.11. Continuing our trend, it's about $200,000 less than the previous month, but continues the trend of about $1 million a month. However, the encumbrances show in the amount, the $1,074,608.11 brings our year-to-date total to $10,170,200.24. And we've encumbered another $3,071,408.33 bringing our end-of-year estimated fund balance to $2,874,196.49. Caveat, that number will change because we both have some more revenue to apply for through ESSER 3 and more expenditures to make between now and the end of the year. Total for grants so far, this is February, not March for grants. The grants still need to be reported for March. $128,251.14 reimbursed to us through our open grants. And we are currently working on our IDEA rewrites right now. Colleen and I have been working together to shave up some more money to go to some different things, and she mentioned a possible RFP for the psychological services. And that's because the warrant article was voted down. Of course, that would be a dollar for dollar reimbursement, so there would be no appropriation for that service, and it is something that we've run by our legal services, and they've concurred that this is within the boundaries of the law. So that's the big hit on our grants, revenue, and expenses.
Questions for Mac?
More easy tonight, I guess.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, Jim had a question.
Oh, sorry, Jim.
It's not a question, just a comment. I just want to continue to commend our business department because we've come a long way from where we were. And if it weren't for the efforts of everyone involved in that department, I don't think we'd be in a place where we're at now. So it feels good to be able to talk to you about financials in a positive light like this, especially for the folks at home to know this as well.
Thank you, Jim. That's an honor, and I just would want to return that favor and say that I wouldn't be where I am without the support of my administrative team, the prudence of this board, and your designee as well. And Cheryl.
Always.
April Fools. No.
She said she brought us snacks and didn't.
Sorry, one more
April
happy
Fools.
add-on. I hold in my hands the check for the Kayla Hussey Fund. We
Yay.
expect to have our narrative tomorrow, and I hope to have that trust created hopefully by the end of the week. Or
Cool, thank you. Chief Orlando.
Thank you, Mac.
Sorry we couldn't meet during the month of February. School board and my schedule didn't align, so I'll give a brief overview of the school resource officers' calls for service in February and March. February 1st through the 29th, the SROs handled a total of 47 calls for service. I'll break that down throughout the district. There was 15 at the Farmington High School, 20 calls for service at the Henry Wilson School, 9 at the Valley View, 2 within the district, and 1 on a bus. For the month of March, the SROs handled a total of 70 calls for service. The Farmington High School had 27. The Henry Wilson had 26. The Valley View had 12. The district had 1. The bus had 2, and the SAU had 2. There is a significant jump from 47 to 70, but that trend will continue to handle more calls of service as the nicer weather comes in at the end of the year. We found that over the years, and that statistic is common. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions for Chief?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just a point with the chief being here. I want to commend the Farmington Police for working closely with the SAU as we continue the development of building-specific safety plans. We have a draft of a flip book that I'll be talking to the building safety committees about this week. We're not looking to implement anything before the school year is over. I think it's asking too much too late in the year. But to put ourselves in a place where the building administrators can help maintain a situation as best as they can so that the first responders can come on site and do their job, I think has benefits that go far above and beyond anything that I could, put before you right now. I just think it's good work being done by good people, and I think you'll be very pleased with the outcome.
Thank you. I'll just add, I know Chief and I had a private conversation recently where I shared this with him, but it was evident this year especially during basketball season, which is a very busy athletic season with lots of fans in our buildings and kids and stuff, that the police department was there was a lot of presence this year. Just coming in, watching a game, interacting with the kids, the student section. They put a team into the JT tournament. And
Very
fair to-
successful team.
Fair,
Yeah.
we won't look at those brackets. But no, those things are noticed, I think, by townspeople, and it's nice to see. At our tournaments that we hosted, the police were there, not because they were called,
Right,
just
I was gonna
because
say
they
for
wanted to
good
stop in
reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
and visit, so thank you for that.
And they were at both events on Saturday here at the high school as
Oh,
well.
really? Good,
Yep.
good,
Yep, they had got a picture with the Easter Bunny.
excellent.
They had to go on a call, but they did come back and get breakfast, I heard, so that's good. So it is
That
nice.
Easter bunny looked good on me.
I'm sorry, I'm
Alright.
laughing at one of the comments on social media. Call one of my officers a mustache, mustache mullet. Yeah, so I'm like, oh, man.
All right, thank you, chief.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Professional Development Master Plan.
You have in your board packet, copy of the July 1, 2024 to June 30th, 2029 Professional Development Master Plan. This is the one that was in the board folder 2 weeks ago, except we had some additional conversation. And this points to the fact that this document really is a living document. Even though we will upload it to the state, there might be a time when we want to call it back and update it. So for example, should we explore different teacher evaluation systems? We might call it back to change something from the Danielson or to update the Danielson that is currently being used. But on page 15, we just highlighted the fact that instructional webinars reference those that were self-paced. And also, further down, the workshop conferences would include online presentations. So we just added in some clarification in 2 areas since the last document was uploaded for your review. So at this time, I'm wondering if there are any questions, and I'm looking ultimately to have the okay to submit this to the state.
I have a couple questions that I won't go over this when I was going through it. The teacher in me is coming out.
Wonderful.
It refers in here in a couple places to the school and district goals, but I couldn't find them anywhere. I went on to the websites to every school, SAU, I could not find those goals. I mean, if they're not listed anywhere, I don't know how they can be in the document.
This is and that's a good question. It's a concern that's been placed before me by Kathleen on a few occasions.
Many.
And given my temporary status, I didn't feel as though it was something that I could act on, but it's certainly worthy of the board's attention.
I mean, to me, that's a very significant part of the plan. If they have to tie into a district or a school or a building goal, and we don't have them anywhere, I don't know how you do that. Another thing
Sorry, can I jump in, Sharon, before you
Yes.
go to that one? But we must have had them prior to July.
Can I speak to that?
Sure, certainly.
Okay, there previously had been a section called Farmington School District's Strategic Innovations Plan, but it included facilities,
Right.
community communications, relations, technology. It included things such as replacing the roof in the
Right.
Farmington, the Henry Wilson School. So it was decided to remove it, knowing that it was not appropriate for this particular document. We did replace it with just 2 statements, one being professional learning, which is using the Frontline's professional learning management system, that is a goal for this particular group, and also supervision and evaluation, that we would be looking to review that by the 2029 end of this, to update that. But regarding, you're right, concerning district and school goals, I have mentioned that to our designee, and he has and does recognize it is something that needs to be done. Did not feel it was appropriate at this time. That is something certainly that we could pull back once we submit this to the state and add those in.
I'm just concerned because it very clearly says that the part of their plan is to tie into those goals. And if they're writing their plans to tie into goals that don't exist, and again, this is the teacher coming out of me thinking from the perspective of someone trying to do this. I also found over here, it's on page 11,
Sure.
it says professional educator standards on page 5 to 6. I think it's pages 4 and 5.
Okay, I can correct that.
That was a simple one.
Thank you for catching that.
And then down where it talks about the template for the Frontlines Professional Learning Management, is that easily accessed by staff? How do they do it? Is that explained somewhere for them?
So,
As if it's a new system?
we just had our first onboarding meeting last week. This is gonna continue throughout the spring into the early summer with looking to go live probably in July or August, but definitely before the next school year. So at the back of this document are forms that our staff can still access right now. We'd be looking, however, to move to that. Along with that process will be professional learning for our staff to utilize the system. And at our meeting, we had paraeducators, teachers, and administrator, myself, and also Mackenzie as our business administrator.
Okay. I mean, I know everybody should know who Charlotte Danielson's 4 domains are, but shouldn't they be named?
Could certainly name them.
I mean, just to save time and effort on anybody's part trying to locate them?
We do have actual, like, text resources that are from Charlotte Danielson. Certainly it's not the most updated one, which is we're waiting to review and consider other options. But I can certainly add in those 4 domains.
Okay.
The 4 domains are listed on page 15.
Yeah. I was just gonna say they're further out.
I can add them, though, into wherever it's mentioned.
I don't think it needs to be
No, it
redundant
doesn't have to be, but
personally.
As long as it's there someplace.
Yep, page
And
15
I
on the
just-
bottom,
I missed it
4.4.
somewhere. I did have a, okay, and this is just picky here. Under the world language travel, what about,
Which, can I ask you?
15,
15.
yeah.
Okay.
The, up to 75 hours for world language teachers, journals, certificates, passport stamps. How about, like a social studies teacher who visited Germany and they're teaching World War II and they visit Dakar? Can they do that also?
I would hope they would.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It seems very specific to world language travel. I'm thinking that it needs to be a broader term.
Okay.
Do you have a suggestion? Sharon?
How about travel appropriate to curriculum taught? I mean, something that covers more than just world language teachers. It seems very specific. I mean, that's the. And the other thing on that same page that I found, it hit me wrong, where it says publishing professional articles and books up to 75 hours, whether it be an article or a book, I think it takes a hell of a lot longer to write a book than it does an article.
I would agree.
just, I think there needs to be a differentiation for amount of time. I'm sorry, I'm just reading my hand scratching as I'm going through it.
What if it's one of those quick e-books?
Yeah,
I don't know, yeah, some
The
Some
intention,
professional articles actually require a lot more time than writing,
there,
a little book.
it might have
I
been
mean-
like writing a chapter for a
Right.
book
yeah, and that would,
versus writing the entire book.
I mean, at 75 hours to write a book to me seems like,
So I can help you there. It's to limit, so
Right.
for example,
It's
someone
not
couldn't get, if
More
they have
than that.
4 certifications, they
Right.
can't write one book and
Mhm.
satisfy all 4
I
certifications, so
get
it does
that.
put a limit.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yes, I think that one can be left.
Anything else?
Those were the main things.
Board prepared to vote on this?
Absolutely.
Someone will make a motion?
I will make the motion to accept professional development master plan for 2024 to 2029, being a living document that can be updated as needed.
Do I have a
Second.
second? Second by Stacy. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just a recommendation, the committee, that the board consider a committee regarding mission and vision at some point, at your convenience,
Regarding what?
to help write the language that we need for that,
Okay.
unless I'm misunderstanding.
I don't think we need to be,
Well, for the, like, the district goal, you mean?
Yeah,
So we've been,
Go ahead, yes.
sorry. I believe the board reasserted the mission statement when we began the NEASC work about a year and a half ago. And moved forward with then the milestones to support the vision of the graduate. I think what is needed here, though, are there overarching the district goals. I know that there had been a strategic plan brought to the school board about 3 years ago, and for whatever reason at the time, it did not move forward. However, not having those goals where we can tie in performance measures is something that would benefit the district. It creates guardrails for then the schools in which to operate. It also gives focus to the work that we're doing in the district so that we're very concentrated in areas of greatest need versus a range of needs or things that we would want to focus on. So working more from the mission statement to building those key goals. Maybe there's only 2 or 3, maybe there are 5, but then also building in performance measures so that we can know in different areas, whether it's curriculum, instruction, community relations, we know a focus for our work.
are those, so that work's already been done and was brought to the board previously?
I would, yes, I
Okay.
would think if time has changed in 3 years, and even models for how school districts develop their goals,
Yep.
what that looks like and how they create a 5-year plan with progress monitoring along the way based on performance measures is really a more current model, at which that particular strategic design did not have in place. So I think it would be something that you'd want, you could consider beginning with working under a structure for how you would want that to look. And then it's something that can be reported on as we're moving forward.
Thank you. Recently, when we did an office hours, Mrs. Doyle and I ended up at Valley View and had conversations with staff up there, and one of the discussions revolved around the math curriculum. Mrs. Doyle took copious notes that day, much better than I did, and so I know that I had asked for her to speak to you about those notes, and then we decided that she would also follow up with Henry Wilson teachers, which she recently did. So, Mrs. Doyle, do you want to just share some of that feedback and how that went?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So had the pleasure of meeting with the teachers at Valley View as well as every teacher at Henry Wilson who teaches math, so that was wonderful. Thank you for your time. And it was really just regarding math and the new math curriculum into math, and to get feedback on that program and to see how things were going. The meeting at Henry Wilson, I had 2 different meetings. I met with 4, 5, 6, and then I met with 7, 8 on a different day. They had nothing but amazing things to say about it. Even some of those teachers who were a little reluctant to a new program, new curriculum, and even some of those teachers who felt like they weren't as strong in math, and this is gonna be something new I have to learn, but they all had great things to say. It was consistently, they said that they're using it with fidelity, they're seeing great results, a lot of success. Some of the things that they pointed out that's really nice, this was like very specific, but like 4th to 5th grade, especially, or 5th to 6th grade, so making that leap there, that transition. Some of the common math vocabulary, the enriched math language, just really increasing our students' minds, math minds, so much stronger math minds than they have seen in the past, these teachers. They said that the materials and the manipulatives are amazing. The guide-by-guide teaching, so for teachers who maybe aren't as confident rolling out a new program, it was nice to kind of have almost a script if you needed it. But then, it was nice because it gave you that flexibility to just be like, oh, I don't really need that. Okay, I'm gonna do that, or I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna change things up. So it did, allow some flexibility. How each module offers 3 different strategies to solve problems. They're seeing the connection with our state assessments and the SAS, so even our kiddos who may be struggling readers, because it was brought to our attention, especially at Valley View, that it's very language rich, and those who may be identified as struggling readers or have more difficulty with that, it could be considered an issue. Henry Wilson said, similar things, but the teachers are taking that opportunity to go ahead and read it to them, which are assessment, accommodations anyway. And they really liked the reteach opportunities for the students, because that really outlines like the problem or the objective that they're teaching, and it helps the parents as well. And they said they found that very helpful. They loved that it offered different levels. So you have your below level, right? Your below level, your on level, maybe your enrichment. They said it was just really nice once they understood the program, because it was a lot less planning for them. Of course, they're still doing planning and doing a lot of work, but that was there at their fingertips. They said that the training that they received was amazing. Last year, almost to the point where I think they even said to you, okay, no more. We're good. So they had really great things to say. They said that they're seeing a significant increase in their academic scores, which is really nice. Valley View seems to be doing a hybrid model and using pieces of it, but still supplementing with some other materials and programs. I know that Valley View has experienced a lot of changes, as we all know, in staff and administration, so I just really think moving forward, if the program's used with fidelity, I think the district-wide math results will improve drastically. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe it won't. Maybe if it is used with fidelity, maybe they'll actually realize that we need something else.
Right.
K through 2, so I don't know.
That is one of the pieces that the program is designed to have everything, whether you have English language learners, students who need additional support, or struggling learners. it's designed to all be there, and then teachers would pick from it what they need. You're right, though, if too many supplemental materials are brought into the program, it's hard to assess the effectiveness of it, which would be particularly important. And I know that there's been concerns about the early elementary students. It is designed to be a very language-rich program intentionally to encourage discourse, to encourage mathematical flexibility, so that it is growing students' minds. So therefore, it's not purely skill-based, for example, or just teaching concepts. It also is looking for students to stretch. So you're right.
Well, the vocabulary is consistent too, like they were saying, like instead of saying, oh, you can't take a bigger number from a smaller number, or you can't, you know, or one teacher calling it borrowing, or one calling it, you know, substitution or regrouping, you know, it's, that language is the language. So now the kids are all like, oh, this is the language, oh, that's what this means. And so it makes it easier for the students, but it also makes it easier for the teachers as well, when everyone's using that common language.
So we will be looking at the effectiveness of the program when we're reviewing our SAS results. That will be one indicator. We recognize it's not the be-all and end-all. We have our Renaissance Star assessment data, which we're finding might be a little more skill-based, but not fully, but it's not the level of asking students to think and use complex reasoning like some of the New Hampshire SAS assessments do. So we'll be curious to put different assessment pieces together to be looking at the effectiveness of the program.
Perfect. I mean, personally, as a previous sorry to go back, train of thought. You had mentioned something that kind of just made me think about this. One of the special education case managers even pointed out too, it's nice because there's different assessments. So you have assessment A and assessment B. So you can use assessment B to kind of do that review with all of your students. And they all come in like PDF form as well as Word document. So it's really nice because the teachers and the special education case managers can really work together to differentiate. And so if they need to change language and make it more simple based on IEP accommodations or modifications, that it's just really easy to do that, but you're still using the program with fidelity and assessing the students using the same assessment that everyone else is. So I loved hearing that piece of it. I feel as though it would be really nice to see if we can use this district-wide, K through 8, like it was intentionally, I think, meant to be. Again, I know there were a lot of moving pieces, but I think a really important piece in order to make that happen is just making sure that those teachers at Valley View are getting that training and that support that I know Henry Wilson did. There are a lot of teachers at Henry Wilson that are willing to talk to the teachers at Valley View, so I don't know how we can make that happen. I mean,
Be a resource for them.
Internal
yeah,
training
to be a
sometimes
resource,
even is
yeah,
better.
just an opportunity for them to kind of talk about it, because it was overwhelming for, you know, those teachers, like they said last year, but now this year, they're just seeing so much success, and it's easier for them to teach. So, I just think that would be a really great opportunity.
And I know first grade, they did use the program fully last year and this year, and I kept pushing them to make themselves available, but have to recognize that they were also new to the program and want to reach out to their colleagues who had questions for them, but also needed to still be working on the program themselves and learning about it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we had an opportunity to speak with Beth, the principal, earlier, and shared with her our thoughts as well about moving forward with this program. We'd like to see it be given full effort and
But of
see what
course,
the
with the
results are.
appropriate support, just making sure, I
Absolutely.
know that there was a lot
Absolutely.
of moving pieces, so
Yeah.
just, you know, making sure that those teachers are feeling supported and, of course, trained.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Esser,
Okay, so ESSER, I'll just recap here. So to date, we were allocated 3.8 million, we budgeted right, for now, 2.5. We've reported back to them 1.8 million, and I'm rounding heavily here, just to get to the point of the matter. So it leaves us with a budgeted amount of 718,000 roughly, and $1,350,565.44 left to allocate and spend freely.
How much, Gary?
one-
Is that in here?
No,
Okay.
no. So it's $1,350,565.44. Okay, and so one thing we were trying to do to get everybody up to speed is kind of get a Henry Wilson window project off the ground. So I started some preliminary conversations with the DOE about it today, and then they informed me that construction may or may not be off the table. In the email, it was like no, we're not doing more construction. But because of Farmington's kind of unique situation, I intend to follow that up with a phone call and ask a few clarifying questions, and see if they're willing to budge on that. If they're not, that's pretty firm. I don't think we're gonna get a big project like the windows through or the roof or anything like that.
The roof.
I wish, yeah, it would just be
At Henry
fantastic.
Wilson.
But, and the roof has a host of other nuances, but long story short, we're circulating a few other projects. I'm having some camera companies come in and look at all of our cameras, things like that. It was something that I know Ruth Ellen intended to do with the previous round of ESSER funding, ESSER 2. It was something that escaped us. It wasn't done. And it wasn't approved activity under there, and replacing cameras gets very expensive. We intend to fix some other security issues with it, and enhance what the cameras can detect, how they detect it. And there's even some, what I'm being told now is some access control benefit to that. So it can even tell who you are with your badge. If it doesn't recognize your face and you punch in with someone else's badge, no go. It won't let you in the building. So I think that might, there's some other technology out there that's really incredibly valuable, that I'm exploring. Gil has mentioned to me some buses that he wants to obtain, something mentioned by a previous board member, Mary, as a probable and prudent use of spending that money, which I concur. Anything that we can buy up front, that's a big one-time fixed cost, takes us down the road in more than one way. So it's definitely on the table, and it keeps any of the funds that we're gonna put into our transportations trust funds there for future use, so it kind of protects the district in the future and provides a buffer there as well. So that would be a few $100,000. And then there's some other conversations about what other technology we can utilize, such as electronic signage for the district, promoting community engagement and information sharing. I don't think this eliminates maybe some smaller changes to fixtures, things like that. Contractor work, so I still intend to have some contractor work done within our schools. We want to optimize our restrooms and some other points here provided to me that are facilities related but not necessarily construction related. So I think we have to be ready for that answer, and I wanted to make that to everyone's attention. I sat and talked with Jim about that earlier today, but it's still something we're exploring nonetheless. So it's just important for everyone to be aware of. Last meeting, we approved our door plan for the high school, a door replacement, so Larry has initiated that project. And the other project that you had approved was the All Kids Bike, which has not been initiated yet. Just timing-wise, it's okay. It's just not the highest priority. The tractor was still on the table. I just put the quotes back in there. I had a conversation with Larry this week about Quick Catch, which was Mary's solution. Through her connections and how they manage tractors, which seems like a financially prudent thing. I think Larry's biggest thing is, what about the warranty? They're offering it to us in one kit, et cetera. One difference between one tractor and the other was one can't have certain pieces of equipment on it and some not, so he would prefer not to engage that, manage it, and then maintenance it down the line. He just wants to have, if the board would allow, one of the options already presented, so then that will get him off the ground and running. If you wanted to look at those quotes, we can definitely move forward, or we can try and obtain more quotes, or definitely go.
And Is there,
Let's-
Go ahead.
Go ahead, yep.
so these quotes that are in our,
Yep.
so those, I know were like from February, but they're still,
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, and even if they go up a little bit, maybe we
Right, right,
don't,
right.
you know,
Right.
just approve that dollar amount. Maybe it's up to, the amount we have in ESSER is 77,926,000 already, excuse me, $77,926 already approved for use. And at this point, I'm just trying to get the funding out the door too, so that way we can obtain it, get it back, and then move on.
77, I don't know what the other one.
oh yeah, I just.
Is there a way to get like a clean copy of what Larry is looking, like his first
Okay.
choice with?
His
so-
first choice was the John Deere. The second choice was the other tractor that, it's the CMD, I think, or if I'm remembering it correctly. But rather than guess, I'm just gonna bring it back up.
Let's get, I just put it on my next meeting agenda. Let's have Larry here on the 15th.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, he couldn't make it tonight.
And let's
but
talk
yeah.
about, because we've got update, there's also the Building and Grounds Committee, and we've got some updates too, but let's get him here on the 15th to talk about the gym floor, which is not as bad as everyone thinks.
Yep.
The roof, which is probably worse than we think.
Absolutely.
The doors, the tractors, I've got a running list here, but
Okay.
let's get Larry
Great
here
idea.
for the
Yep.
15th, and we'll cover all that.
That'd be
stuff.
great.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just a reminder, he is going on leave on the 22nd, so it'll be the last meeting you have with him for,
Right.
what I estimate 6 to 8 weeks if everything goes well. So,
All right, graduation date.
Tentative now.
We had conversations about voting on that tonight, and then this storm came out of the blue, but I guess the question is, can we tolerate a couple days out potentially for this storm and still have enough hours to shoot for a June 8th graduation date, which is the date that floated around in a previous conversation?
That's the date that's on, as tentative
Yeah.
on the school
Right.
calendar.
Right,
That Saturday?
yes.
This Saturday.
So,
I mean,
And we're looking at a possibility of 3 days this week, not really knowing how things are gonna land.
I mean,
I suspect the answer to your question is it shouldn't be an issue. Because the only day that we've had this year was the hot building day, to which I talked to the Commissioner of Education. And he indicated that because we supply hours instead of days, he doesn't think that, in fact, he said it's a day that you're probably not going to have to make up. And Sue Johnson, in her work over the course of the year, has indicated that we have more hours on the books than we would need for there to be an issue, but I will confirm that with you.
why don't we put this on the next
I was
agenda?
just gonna say,
I
can
mean,
we,
we don't, it's tentatively scheduled for the 8th,
Right.
so there
Let's
you
see
go.
what-
I mean,
yeah.
plans,
Right.
I'm sure, are in progress for some people for the 8th, but again, we don't control the weather. So let's let this storm go by, put it
Okay.
on the 15th agenda, and make a solid decision that night. And if you can bring those hours from Sue Johnson, something updated
I'll
at
do
that
that,
point,
yes.
Jim, that would be helpful. All right, mutual oil propane agreement.
this one's me, and I'll try to make it quick.
Yeah.
It should be easy. I'm just asking for permission to now formalize what I'm trying to do. And so kind of the last 2 years in Milton, I've been the, the guy that corrals everyone together and tries to get us into a mutual agreement. In my first year, we all worked on it. The second year, Wakefield's like, yes, thank God, you're back, take it. And so I approached Farmington last year, and we missed getting them into it by like the skin of our teeth. And unfortunately, I think they paid 10 cents more a gallon in just oil. So it's something I really want to make sure that, Wakefield, Milton, and Farmington, just not to increase the scope too quickly, but I'd like to get the three of them together in this bidding process and try and get our oil propane costs as low as possible and extend our employee benefits for another year as well. So in order to do that, I would just ask permission ahead of time that once we get to a number that we feel fits, that I have the authorization to enter into that agreement.
Would this include the town as well?
I was just gonna ask.
I was gonna, yes, I have a good working relationship with Ken. Last year, we were like right on the button. He was going out of town for a couple days and needed to have board approval. So this year, the plan is, I'm asking first, and then I'll send out an update to the other communities to go ahead and ask your boards to enter into an agreement once we hit that magic number. Once we're sure it's as low as possible. And then, we're just gonna enter into it through that method instead. But
Because I think last few years anyways, we've partnered with the town, so I
But
just
does it include their towns too?
yes,
Okay.
towns,
Yeah.
schools,
I
yep.
just want, I just wanna make sure that we're all,
And then I have an Excel sheet that keeps growing with all of our info, so next year I kind of hope to approach some more communities. Maybe Middleton would be a good one, but, whatever the board's purview is. But in order to keep it simple, I'm just trying to do one at a time. And because I missed Farmington last year, I think I'd just be better to start with Farmington, keep the town school, bundle them with Milton School, and Wakefield School.
I don't think we need a vote on that. Does anybody have objection to that?
No.
Okay, no, we're fine.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
consideration, appreciate it.
Public participation? Nothing? All right, we have manifest to sign. Our next meeting will be on April 15th, 2 weeks from tonight.
Tax day.
Tax day. My goodness, April Fool's Day to Tax
I
Day.
know, my goodness.
Yeah.
Good schedule.
All these
Oh.
special days.
Thank you to those of you who came out tonight, all one of you, and thank you to those of you viewing from home. I will entertain a motion to go into non-public session 4 under RSA 91A:3, 2A, B, and C for more nominations and resignations.
So moved.
So moved by Mrs. Johnston,
Second.
second by Mrs. Lozay. All those in favor?
Aye.